My name is Celeste Marlowe. I am 31 years old, and for almost 1 year, my entire hometown believed I had abandoned my disabled younger brother. They believed I walked away when he needed me most. They believed I stopped paying for his care. They believed I stole money meant for his therapy, disappeared into my own life, and left my parents to suffer alone. My mother cried in church about it. My father gave speeches about it. My sister posted about it online like she was grieving a tragedy, only she had the strength to survive. And the town believed them. $62,000. That is how much people donated after my parents told everyone they needed help caring for my brother because I had betrayed the family. There was only one problem. I had not abandoned him. I had paid for everything. The wheelchair, the therapy, the medication, the hospital bills, the ramp, the specialist visits, every late-night emergency, every invoice they ignored, every payment they pretended came from them. It came from me. So when I walked into my father's retirement dinner with my brother beside me and a folder full of receipts in my hand, my mother stopped smiling so fast the whole room noticed. What happened next did not feel like revenge. It felt like watching the truth finally breathe. Welcome back to Drama and Revenge Stories. This is a fictional story about family betrayal, public lies, and the moment silence finally became impossible. If you have ever been blamed for someone else's cruelty, stay with me. Now, let me get into it. I grew up in Vaybrook, Pennsylvania, a small town where everyone knew your name, your parents, your church seat, and your business before you had even decided whether it was anyone's business. My father, Warren Marlowe, was a respected man. That was what people called him. Respected. He had worked at Vaybrook High for 34 years, first as a teacher, then as assistant principal. He wore pressed shirts, polished shoes, and the same calm expression whether he was handing out awards or suspensions. People trusted him. My mother, Elaine, was the kind of woman people described as warm. She led donation drives at church, organized meal trains for sick neighbors, and always knew exactly when to place a hand on someone's shoulder and lower her voice. People adored her. Then there was my sister, Maribel. Beautiful, social, dramatic in a way people mistook for sensitive. She could turn any room into a stage and any inconvenience into a wound. And then there was Jonah, my younger brother. Jonah was born when I was 10. He had cerebral palsy. His legs did not work the way other children's did. His muscles tightened without warning. His hands shook when he was tired. Speech came slower for him, but his mind was sharper than anyone gave him credit for. He was funny. Brutally funny. By the time he was 12, he could beat grown men at chess and then ask them if they wanted a second chance to embarrass themselves. I loved him more than anything. And because I loved him, my parents used me. At first, it looked like responsibility. That is how families like mine hide things. They wrap control in words like duty, sacrifice, and love. Celeste, watch Jonah for 1 hour. Celeste, help Jonah stretch his legs. Celeste, call the insurance company. Celeste, miss the party. Your brother needs you. Celeste, family comes first. By the time I was 16, I knew Jonah's medication schedule better than my mother did. By 18, I knew which insurance forms would be rejected before we even submitted them. By 20, I was the one sitting beside him at appointments while my parents accepted sympathy from people who thought they were exhausted caregivers. They were not exhausted. They were admired. There is a difference. When I graduated high school, I got accepted into a nursing program 2 states away. Full scholarship, housing included. I still remember standing in the kitchen with the acceptance letter in my hand, feeling like the world had opened a door just for me. My mother read the letter once. Then she put it on the counter. "What about Jonah?" she asked. That was all. Not congratulations. Not we are proud of you. Just what about Jonah? My father came home later that evening and gave me the speech I had heard my whole life. Family means sacrifice, Celeste. You do not leave when people need you. So I stayed. I enrolled locally. I worked nights. I studied when the house was quiet. I took Jonah to physical therapy before class and picked up medication after work. Maribel left for college without guilt, without questions, without anyone asking her what about Jonah. That question had always belonged to me. Years passed. I became a nurse at the county hospital. 12-hour shifts, swollen feet, Sore back. Patients who thanked me more than my own family ever did. Jonah grew older too. By 22, he wanted more independence. He wanted better therapy. He wanted a wheelchair that actually fit him properly. He wanted the back entrance of the house fixed because the old wooden ramp my father built was unsafe. My parents said money was tight. Money was always tight when Jonah needed something. Money was never tight when Maribel needed a flight home, or my mother needed new countertops, or my father wanted to restore the old Mustang sitting in our garage under a gray tarp. So I paid $8,400 for Jonah's new wheelchair, $1,150 for a proper portable ramp, $3,600 for private occupational therapy, medication copays, specialist visits. Dental surgery after a muscle spasm made him crack a tooth, pressure cushions, shower rails, transportation fees. I paid quietly. I did not tell the town. I did not ask my parents to thank me. I did not even ask them to stop taking credit. That was my mistake. I thought silence was keeping peace, but silence only gave them room to write their own version of the story. When I was 29, I moved out, 15 minutes away. A small apartment above a florist shop. Old wooden floors, thin walls, a kitchen window that looked over the alley. It was not fancy, but it was mine. For the first time in my life, nobody opened my door without knocking. Jonah cried when I told him. Not because he was angry, because he understood. "You are allowed to have a life," he said. My mother did not say that. My father did not say that. Maribel definitely did not say that. My mother punished me quietly at first. Short replies. Cold phone calls. Family dinners I heard about after they happened. My father started speaking to me like I was an employee who had submitted disappointing work. But I kept helping Jonah, because leaving their house did not mean leaving him. Then my father announced his retirement dinner. 34 years at Vaybrook High. The school board planned a celebration at the country club. Teachers, church members, former students, neighbors, everyone would be there. The invitation came in the mail. Cream envelope, gold letters. Warren Marlowe retirement celebration. There was no note inside, just my name, written in my mother's perfect handwriting, as if she had not spent months treating me like a stranger. I was not going to go. Then Jonah called me. His voice was lower than usual. "Celeste, you need to come." I sat up in bed. "What happened?" He paused. A long pause. Then he said, "They are saying things about you." My chest tightened. "What things?" "That you left. That you stopped helping. That you took money from the care fund." I went very still. "What care fund?" Another pause. Then Jonah told me everything. After I moved out, my mother started telling people I had become distant. Then she said I was no longer helping with Jonah. Then Maribel posted online about family members who choose comfort over responsibility. Then came the fundraiser, a church lunch first, then an online campaign, then a school district collection connected to my father's retirement. The title was simple: Help Jonah After Family Betrayal. Family betrayal. That meant me. I found the fundraiser that night at 1:17 in the morning. There was a photo of Jonah smiling by the lake, a photo of my parents standing behind his wheelchair. A long emotional paragraph written by Maribel. It said my parents were struggling to cover therapy, medical equipment, home renovations, and daily care after a close family member had withdrawn promised support. Close family member. They did not use my name. They did not have to. Everyone knew. The comments were worse. Praying for Jonah and the parents who stayed. Shame on anyone who walks away from family. Warren and Elaine have given everything. Some daughters forget who raised them. I read that last 5 times. Some daughters forget who raised them. No. Some parents forget who carried the weight they received praise for. The fundraiser had raised $62,418. I did not cry. I made a folder on my laptop and named it Truth. Then I started collecting everything. Screenshots. Donation totals. Comments. Dates. Updates. My sister's posts. My mother's church announcement. My father's quote in the local paper. When family steps away, community steps up. That was what he said. I screenshotted that too. Then I opened my bank records. 3 years of payments. Wheelchair invoice. Ramp receipt. Therapy transfers. Pharmacy payments. Hospital bills. Insurance appeal emails. Text messages from my mother asking me to handle this one quickly because she was busy. Then I found the voicemail. 8 months old. I had forgotten I saved it. My mother's voice was sharp, tired, and careless. Celeste, the therapist wants payment by Friday. Use your card like last time, and do not act like this makes you special. You are his sister. This is what you are supposed to do. I played it once, then again. Then I saved it in 3 different places. The next morning, I went to Jonah. My parents were at church. Jonah was in the sunroom, tablet open, chessboard on the screen. He looked at me and knew immediately. You found it, he said. I nodded. His face changed. Not fear. Shame. That broke me. Jonah, I said, sitting beside him. You did nothing wrong. His eyes filled. They told me if I corrected people, the donations would stop. Mom said the money was for the family. Dad said I was being ungrateful. Maribel said I was making things harder. I looked around the room. The same old ramp was still outside. The bathroom had not been renovated. His therapy schedule had been cut. The adjustable bed mentioned in the fundraiser updates was nowhere to be seen. Where is the money? I asked. Jonah laughed once. There was no humor in it. Not here. Then he told me the rest. My father had bought the Mustang. My mother had redone the kitchen. Maribel's wedding venue deposit had been paid. I felt the anger arrive slowly, not hot, cold, focused. Do you want out? I asked. Jonah looked at me. For 5 seconds, he said nothing. Then he whispered, yes, that was all I needed. I called a lawyer that afternoon. Her name was Renata Vale. Silver glasses. Calm voice. The kind of woman who made chaos sit down and wait its turn. I showed her everything. The fundraiser, the receipts, the bank statements, the voicemail, the messages. Jonah was on speakerphone. Renata listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back and said, this is fraud. Jonah was silent. Then he asked, can they make me stay? Renata's voice softened. You are an adult. If you want to change your care arrangement, they cannot legally force you to remain under their control. The silence after that sentence was bigger than the room. For Jonah, it was not just advice. It was a door opening. We made a plan. Documents first. Safe housing second. Medical authorization forms. Adult protective services, consultation. Police report after the evidence was organized. Renata told me not to confront them alone. People who control stories become dangerous when they lose control of the room, she said. So I waited. I smiled when my mother texted me about what dress I planned to wear to the retirement dinner. I answered politely when Maribel asked if I was coming. I kept collecting proof. The week before the dinner, Jonah moved out. Quietly. On a Wednesday morning, while my parents were at an appointment, I arrived with Renata, a disability advocate named Paul, and accessible transport. Jonah had packed 3 bags: clothes, medication, chessboard. A framed photo of us from my high school graduation, where he was grinning beside me in his wheelchair like he had personally earned the diploma. We took him to an accessible apartment complex 20 minutes away. Wide doors, roll-in shower, kitchen counters he could reach, staff nearby if he needed help, freedom if he did not. When he rolled into the living room, he stopped in the center. This is mine? He asked. Yes, no one can take it. No one. His hand shook when he reached for mine, not from his condition, from freedom. My parents discovered he was gone at 4:10. My phone started ringing at 4:12. Mother, father, mother, Maribel, father. Then the voicemails came. My father first. You had no right. Bring your brother back before this becomes ugly. Saved. Then my mother. You think you are clever, Celeste? You have no idea what people will believe when I am done talking. Saved. Then Maribel. You are ruining Dad's retirement. You always have to make everything about yourself. Saved. 3 days later, Jonah and I arrived at the country club together. He wore a charcoal suit and a blue tie. I wore a dark green dress and simple earrings. My folder was under my left arm. The Vabrit Country Club looked exactly like the kind of place where people pretended appearances were the same thing as morality. White columns, polished floors, chandeliers, soft music, tables with folded napkins and little cards that said, "Thank you for honoring Warren Marlowe." At the entrance, a woman from the school board checked names. She saw Jonah first, then me. Her smile faltered. "Oh," she said, "just that." "Oh." We entered the banquet hall at 6:47. My father stood near the podium under a banner that read, "Thank you, Mr. Marlowe, for 34 years of service." My mother stood beside him in a pearl-colored dress, accepting compliments like she had personally invented sacrifice. Maribel was by the gift table, showing off her engagement ring. There was a display board near the stage, photos of my father with students, my father at graduation, my father shaking hands, and in the center, a large photo of Jonah with the words, "Family, Faith, and Sacrifice." Jonah saw it. His jaw tightened. "You okay?" I asked. He stared at the photo. Then he looked at the room. "I will be." At first, only a few people noticed us, then more. The room did not fall silent all at once. It changed slowly. Conversations thinned. Forks paused. People turned. A retired teacher put her hand over her mouth. Pastor Bell stopped mid-sentence. Then my mother saw us. She saw Jonah first and looked relieved. Then she saw me, and the relief disappeared. My father turned because my mother's face changed. For 1 second, he looked calm. Then his eyes dropped to the folder in my hand, and he understood. Maribel reached us first. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. Jonah answered before I could. "I was invited." "No, you were not." "It is Dad's retirement dinner," Jonah said. "I am his son." People nearby heard. My mother walked toward us quickly, smiling for the room. "Jonah, sweetheart," she said, reaching for his shoulder. "You scared us." Jonah moved his chair back just enough that her hand touched air. "No," he said. "I embarrassed you." The room went quieter. My father stepped in. "This is not the time." I looked at him. "You are right." Then I looked at the podium. "That is." I walked onto the stage. The microphone was already on. A small feedback sound cut through the hall. Every face turned toward me. My mother's smile cracked. "Celeste," she said quietly. "Get down." I looked at the room. Teachers who had watched me grow up. Neighbors who had donated. Church members who had prayed for my parents. Former students who believed my father was a good man. "My name is Celeste Marlowe," I said. "Many of you were told that I abandoned my brother Jonah and withdrew financial support from his care." The room froze. My father started toward the stage. Jonah rolled into the aisle, not blocking him, just existing there. My father stopped. I opened the folder. "That story is false," murmurs spread. My mother laughed once. She is upset. "This is a private family matter." I held up the first page. "This is the invoice for Jonah's wheelchair. $8,400, paid by me." I placed it on the podium. "This is the portable ramp. $1,150, paid by me." Another page. "Private therapy. $3,600, paid by me." Another page. "Medication, specialist visits, dental surgery, pressure cushions, hospital bills. Paid by me." The room became completely still. Not empty, still. Heavy still. The kind of silence that means people are starting to understand they were used. Pastor Bell looked at my mother. "Elaine?" She did not answer. I held up the fundraiser printout. This campaign raised $62,418. It said the money would go toward therapy, medical equipment, home renovations, and daily care for Jonah. I looked at Jonah. He nodded. The bathroom was not renovated. The back entrance is still unsafe. The adjustable bed was never purchased. His therapy was reduced. No wheelchair van was bought. A woman in the back asked, "Then where did the money go?" Nobody answered, so I did. My father bought a vintage Mustang. A low sound moved through the room. My mother remodeled the kitchen. My mother's face went pale, and my sister's wedding venue deposit was paid 2 weeks after the fundraiser closed. Maribel's mouth opened. "That is not true." I held up the receipt. Her fiancé took one step away from her. Just one. But everyone saw it. My father spoke then. "You do not understand what it costs to hold a family together." I looked at him. Then I pressed play on my phone. My mother's voice filled the banquet hall. "Celeste, the therapist wants payment by Friday. Use your card like last time. And do not act like this makes you special. You are his sister. This is what you are supposed to do." The recording ended. No one moved. My mother looked at the phone like it had betrayed her. My father looked at the floor. Maribel looked around for someone still on her side. She found no one. Then Jonah rolled forward. I handed him the microphone. His fingers shook. His voice shook too. But he spoke. My sister did not abandon me. The first sentence broke the room open. She was the only reason I had care when my parents said things were too expensive. She paid when insurance refused. She drove me to appointments. She sat with me in hospitals. She knew my medications. She gave up college because my parents told her family meant sacrifice. He paused. My mother whispered, "Jonah, please." He did not look at her. And when she finally moved out, they punished her. They used me to do it. A retired teacher started crying. Jonah kept going. I did not ask for that fundraiser. I did not get that money. I did not get the things people donated for. His voice cracked. I got used. 3 words. I got used. My father grabbed the back of a chair. My mother covered her mouth. But it was too late. The room had heard him. The first person to stand was Mr. Hanley, a retired history teacher who had donated with his late wife. I gave $300, he said. My wife thought she was helping Jonah before she passed. I want it returned. Then another voice. We gave $500. The church gave $1,200. The staff collected money. My students held a bake sale. A bake sale. Children had sold brownies and cookies so my father could polish a Mustang and my mother could choose kitchen tiles. My mother started crying then. The kind of crying that used to work. You do not know what I have carried, she said. You do not know what it is like having a child like Jonah. The room changed after that because everyone heard it. A child like Jonah. Jonah smiled. Small. Sad. A child like me? He asked. My mother froze. Too late. I stepped down from the stage and stood beside him. My father said, "This has gone far enough." Then the doors at the back of the hall opened. Renata walked in with 2 officers and a man from Adult Protective Services. My father's face went gray. One officer approached my parents. "Warren and Elaine Marlowe, we need to ask you some questions regarding a fundraising complaint and possible misuse of donated funds intended for disability care." My mother straightened. "This is a private family disagreement." The officer remained calm. "No, ma'am. Once public donations are collected under specific claims, it becomes more than private." My father looked around the room. No one looked back at him with respect anymore. That was the first punishment, not the police, not the questions. The loss of being believed. For 34 years, Warren Marlowe had lived on trust. In one evening, trust left him. They were escorted out separately for questioning. No handcuffs. Not yet. That came later. But everyone watched them leave. My father walked like a man who had aged 10 years in 10 minutes. My mother cried until she realized nobody was coming to comfort her. Maribel tried to follow them, but her fiancé stopped her. "Did you know?" he asked. She looked at him. That was enough. He removed the boutonniere from his jacket, placed it on the gift table, and walked out another door. The retirement cake sat untouched. White frosting. Blue letters. "Congratulations, Warren." Nobody cut it. After the officers left, the banquet hall became something between a courtroom and a funeral. People stood in small groups, whispering. Some apologized to me. Some apologized to Jonah. Some avoided our eyes completely. Pastor Bell promised the church would notify every donor. The school board president asked for copies of the documents. Mr. Hanley cried when Jonah took his hand. But the moment I remember most came after almost everyone had left. Jonah and I sat near the stage. The banner for my father still hung above us. Jonah looked at it and said, "I thought if I told the truth, everyone would hate me." I asked, "Who told you that?" He smiled without humor. "The people who needed me quiet." That sentence stayed with me. The people who needed me quiet. Some families do not ask for loyalty. They demand silence and call it love. 3 months later, everything was paperwork. The fundraiser platform froze the remaining money. Donor refunds started. My parents were charged with theft by deception and financial exploitation connected to misrepresented disability care expenses. The school district opened an ethics review into my father's use of his position to promote the fundraiser. The church removed my mother from every committee she had controlled for years. Maribel's wedding was postponed, then canceled. The Mustang was sold. The kitchen renovation became part of the restitution discussion. My parents tried calling me twice. I did not answer. Not because I was scared, because I had already heard enough from them to last a lifetime. Jonah settled into his new apartment faster than anyone expected. He restarted therapy twice a week. He joined an online chess club and immediately began destroying strangers with the confidence of a king who had finally escaped the wrong board. Every Thursday, I brought dinner. Sometimes Thai food. Sometimes pizza. Sometimes he cooked something terrible and called it experimental. One night, he looked at me across the table and asked, "Do you miss them?" I knew who he meant. Our parents. I thought about lying. Then I decided we had survived enough lies. "I miss who I needed them to be," I said. Jonah nodded. "Me too. That was enough." 6 months after the retirement dinner, Jonah and I returned to the country club. Not for confrontation, for a real fundraiser. The school board, church, and Disability Advocacy Center organized it together. The money went into a transparent account managed by the Advocacy Center, not by families, not by people with perfect smiles and private lies. The banner did not have my father's name on it. It said Accessible Futures Fund. Jonah gave a speech. Short, dry, completely Jonah. "Thank you for helping disabled adults get what they actually need instead of what other people can pose beside for photos." People laughed. Then they clapped. Then they stood. I stood too. Not as his caregiver. Not as the daughter carrying everyone else's burden. As his sister. Just his sister. That night, snow fell softly over Vaybrook as we left. Jonah rolled beside me toward the car, red gloves bright against the joystick of his chair. "Celeste," he said. "Yeah? You gave up a lot for me." I stopped walking. He looked at me carefully. "I know you did, and I love you for it. But you do not have to give up anything else." Snow landed on his shoulders, on my hair, on the windshield. For years, I had carried my family like a debt. That night, for the first time, I felt the balance clear. I am standing in my apartment now, above the florist shop, with old floors, rattling windows, and a life that finally belongs to me. Jonah lives 20 minutes away. He calls when he wants to complain about therapy, brag about chess, or ask if I have eaten real food during a hospital shift. On my wall, there is a framed photo from the real fundraiser. Jonah at the microphone, me beside him, both of us smiling, not because everything was perfect, because the truth was finally standing in public without apologizing. My parents tried to turn me into the villain so they could sell themselves as heroes. They used my brother's disability, my silence, and an entire town's kindness to build a lie big enough to live inside. But here's what they never understood. A lie can wear church clothes. A lie can stand behind a podium. A lie can collect donations and smile for photos. But a lie cannot survive forever beside receipts, witnesses, and the person it tried to silence. They told everyone I abandoned my brother. But when the doors opened, he was beside me. And that was the truth they could not explain away. That is my story. A fake betrayal. $62,000. One retirement dinner. And the brother who finally got to speak for himself. If this story reminded you that silence is not the same as loyalty, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Drama and Revenge Stories, and I will see you in the next one.